Being street smart is held up as the holy grail of intelligence and people skills. These days, it's become trendy to trash book smarts and glorify street smarts, as if one makes you soft and the other makes you unstoppable. But almost nobody defines what street smarts actually are, how you get them, and whether they're actually worth it. That's what I'm here to break down in this video. Here, I'll answer 3 questions. What does it mean to be street smart? How do you become street smart? And most importantly, is it worth the price you have to pay? Spoiler alert, it's not. At least not for the reasons you think. Now, I'm not speaking from theory. I didn't study this in a university classroom. I learned it in real time, growing up in an environment where survival was the only curriculum. I did just enough different to avoid the usual outcomes for people where I'm from, dead, in jail, or stuck in the same cycle of life. But make no mistake, you don't get out with learning how to move. And that understanding, that's street smarts. It's a way of reading situations and people when the rules break down or never existed to begin with. Growing up, the dangers were immediate and physical. You had to know whether the guy across from the street was reaching for his waistband or just adjusting his pants. You learned to recognize danger before it popped off, not because someone told you, but because your life depended on it. Now I live in a world where the threats wear suits and smile for the camera. The dude pushing an MLM in your DMs, the drop shipper who will build the store for you, the fake alpha guru selling the confidence bundle, the pig butchers who fatten you up with love or crypto until you send them your life savings. And guess what? Street smarts still work here. Different battlefield, same war. There's an old saying, once bitten, twice shy. That's the real origin of the story of street smarts. You only get them after they bite you, and after the betrayal, and after you trusted the wrong person and paid the price. Because the streets, and I'm not just talking about neighborhoods, but any place where the rules break down, don't teach with lectures. They teach with real consequences. What you deal with in the hood is a kind of organized anarchy. It's not that laws don't exist. It's just that the people don't respect them. Police don't stop crime. They just clean up afterwards. And the community's relationship with authority is so broken that you're expected to handle your problems alone. If something goes down, you can't call for help. You have to handle it yourself. But here's the twist. If you act too bold, too fast, or too emotionally, you make yourself a bigger target. So you learn, avoid the conflict, but don't look scared. Be invisible, but don't look weak. Move quiet, but never sloppy. The balancing act, that's street smarts. It's wild how quickly the mask of civility drops when people chase sex or money. As Meek Mill once said, when certain niggas get to starving, know that gun gonna shine. You might have heard the saying, all is fair in love and war. Now consider this. For a lot of people, self-interest is the highest form of love, and they'll go to war to protect it, even if it means hurting people who aren't in the game. That's the world you're navigating, and to survive it, you need more than morals. You need street smarts. So what are they really? To call someone street smart is to say they've been up close and personal with human nature, especially the ugly side. They understand how people act when no one's watching. They can spot the bluff, the hustle, the betrayal before it lands. And they know how to use that information to protect themselves or take advantage of it if they want to. When most people picture street smarts, they think of a hustler, a drug dealer, a stick-up kid, someone ducking the cops while making moves, but that's just one form. You'll find street smarts in cops, CEOs, pastors, anyone who spent time dealing with desperation, deceit, and survival. The common thread? Constant exposure to high-stakes human behavior, the ability to adapt without losing footing, and the scars to prove it. Book smarts might help you predict what should happen, but street smarts help you survive what actually does. There's a perfect moment in The Wire that captures this tension. Stringer Bell, street smart, ambitious, business-minded, is talking about market cycles like he's running a corporation when their dope product is weak and they're losing territory. Avon Barksdale cuts in on him and says, String, this ain't about your motherfucking business class either. It ain't that part of it. It's the other thing, the street. It's the street always. That line is the heartbeat of this whole idea. When there are no systems to protect you, when the rules fall away, all that's left is raw human nature. And you either learn how to navigate it or you get clapped. The street doesn't teach with textbooks. It teaches with tests. Tests where failure has real-world consequences. And unlike school, there are no makeup exams, no tutors, no grace period, just a lesson, the test, and whether or not you're standing when it's over. I can teach you how to analyze a paragraph or solve an equation, but I can't teach you how to keep your head on a swivel when you walk into a room. I can't teach you how to smile while someone tries to scam you, just long enough for them to show their hand. I can try, but at the end of the day, the only way you learn that the stove is hot is by getting burned. That's how I learned. And now instead of dodging fists and fake friends, I'm dodging finesse moves and suits and in the DMs. That's what makes street smarts so powerful. They evolve. You go from worrying about who's going to press you in the corner to wondering who's going to press you into a business opportunity that drains your savings and your net worth. And the question still is the same. What's this person really after? What are they saying? What benefits me and what benefits or who benefits if I play along? That mindset saved me from a lot of modern day predators. But to sharpen it even more, I went back to something I hadn't touched in years. A book that breaks down how people give themselves away even when their words aren't saying all the right things. This video is sponsored by Shortform. If you've ever wished books came with cheat codes, Shortform is it. They've got detailed guides and summaries for thousands of nonfiction books across every genre you can think of. Psychology, self-development, business, history, philosophy, you name it. But these aren't just surface level recaps. Each guide breaks down key ideas, adds smart context, and even connects the dots between different books. For this video, I use Shortform to revisit What Everybody Is Saying by Navarro, the former FBI agent who explains how body language gives people away. I wanted to explore how subtle cues like posture and eye contact or how someone carries themselves can make a person look naive or even like a target. If you're trying to be more aware and less easy to fool, this book is a goldmine, and Shortform made it easy for you to pull the insights out fast. You can try it free and get 20% off the annual plan at the link in the pinned comment and the description. Once again, thank you to Shortform for sponsoring the video. One of the things Navarro absolutely nails is this. Your body speaks louder than your mouth ever will. You could be the hardest, buffest looking dude in the room, but if your body says, I've never seen danger, you'll get treated like a mark. And that's what most people don't understand. You don't have to say something dumb to get played. You just have to move like someone who hasn't been burned yet. That's all it takes. That's why predators, whether it's scammers, con artists, or straight up criminals, can walk into a room and almost instantly pick out who they're going to target. In fact, there's research to back this up. In 1981, a study out of New York filmed random people walking down the street. Then they showed the footage to a group of violent offenders, guys in prison for things like robbery and assault, and asked them, who would you go after? They all picked the same people, not based on size, not based on age, but on movement, posture, gait, hesitation, general situational awareness. That study confirmed what the streets already knew. Predators don't just pick random victims, they pick easy ones. And easy has nothing to do with how smart you are on paper. It's about how you carry yourself, how alert you are, how naive you look. And in 2025, when everyone's glued to their phones and half aware at best, there are more easy marks than ever. Now here's the twist. Sometimes the best move is to look like a mark, at least long enough to get someone to reveal their hand. That's an advanced level of street smarts, playing dumb so the other person gets comfortable showing you how full of shit they are. But that only works if you're not actually dumb. You have to be alert beneath the surface. You have to have seen the play before it's made. And that comes from experience, from being betrayed. It's a trial by fire. Everyone knows street smarts helps you avoid getting played, but what few people talk about is what they cost you on the inside though. Because the truth is this. If you've got real street smarts, it's probably because something or someone hurt you bad enough to kill off your naivete. I didn't grow up learning to trust people. I grew up learning how to read the room and avoid getting hit. My mom was abusive. My dad wasn't around. And I figured out early that no one was coming to save me. I had to know when she'd been drinking. I had to sense the shift in her mood because if I missed the signs, I paid for it. That kind of environment wires your brain differently. You don't learn to relax. You learn to scan. You don't ask if someone's a threat, you assume they are until proven otherwise. You learn to listen between the lines, watch body language, track inconsistencies, not because it's fun, but not because it's interesting, but because it's necessary. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, a state of constant alertness, even when there's no clear danger. Studies show that kids who grow up in homes with chronic stress or abuse often have an overreactive amygdala, the part of your brain that controls your fear response. Your nervous system becomes like a smoke alarm that never shuts off. You walk around the world with your radar always on. The messed up part is, it actually works. You pick up on things most people miss: the tension in someone's shoulders before they snap, the weird pause in their voice before they lie, a subtle change in their story that exposes their entire charade. At first, it feels like a gift. You feel sharp, you feel protected, you feel untouchable. But over time, it becomes exhausting because you're always reading between the lines and you stop hearing what's actually being said. When you're always looking for the angle, you can't just be with someone. You stop trusting not just strangers, but even the people closest to you. I spent the first 2 years of my 13-year relationship with my wife thinking, either she's the best actress in the world, or I'm dead and this is heaven. That's how deep it ran. That's how long it took for me to even consider the idea that someone might love me without an agenda. And I'm not the only one. I know people who can sniff out a scam a mile away, but they haven't let anyone get close to them in over a decade. They're sharp, but they're also alone. Because being too street smart doesn't just make you skeptical, it makes you cold. You build walls so high that even the good people can't get in. You know how to be charming, but you don't know how to be open. You know how to play nice, but you're always calculating. And that's not living, that's surviving. It's easy to become what you had to be to stay safe, but hard to become what you need to be to stay sane. That's what they don't tell you about street smarts. They save you, yes, but they also change you. And if you're not careful, they can harden you into someone who can't accept love, peace, or even kindness because you're always waiting for the catch. That's when the line gets blurry. Where do your instincts end and your trauma begins? Every time I see a crazy Reddit post where someone gets betrayed by a spouse or scammed by a fake business partner or left hanging by family, I see people in the comments saying like, this can't be real, no one's that dumb, no one would actually fall for that. But I don't think that at all. I just think those people haven't seen enough. Because once you've seen how cool the world can be, when the stakes are high, when people think they can get away with something, you stop being surprised by anything. You stop saying no way. You start saying, I won't put it past them. And that's the thing about street smarts. You don't gain them from just watching the world. You gain them from getting betrayed by it. By seeing what people are really capable of when no one's looking and when people think you can't fight back. But here's the danger. If you stare into that darkness long enough, it starts staring back at you. There's a quote I think about often in this regard. It's from Friedrich Nietzsche. You probably heard it before. He says, he who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze long enough into the abyss also gazes back at you. That's what being too street smart can do to you. You stare into the dark parts of people long enough, and you start becoming what you had to be to protect yourself. Cold, suspicious, ready for betrayal before it even happens. And yeah, that might keep you safe, but it's also going to cut you off. You stop seeing people, you only see potential threats. You stop having real relationships, you just run background checks with a smile. You stop hearing what someone says and you just dissect their motives like a detective, not a friend. At first, it feels like clarity. You tell yourself, I see the truth, I'm not being fooled. But eventually it turns into something darker. I don't believe anyone. That's the abyss. And if you stare long enough into it, you don't just see it, you become it. Here's where it gets tricky. People gaslight you, manipulate you, hurt you, and try to make you think you're crazy for reacting. So naturally your defenses go up, and they should. But when you start to assume everyone's lying, everyone's selfish, everyone's out to get you and get one over on you, that's not self-protection anymore. That's a prison. And worst of all, you might not even know it's happening. Because the world rewards people who don't get fooled. Nobody wants to be the guy who fell for the Ponzi scheme. Nobody wants to be the woman who sent over $200K to a scammer she never met. And nobody wants to admit, yeah, I trusted the wrong person. So we overreact. We become guarded, hearted, skeptical, to the point of isolation. And we call it just being smart. But what is it really? It's fear. And I get it because I lived it. There were years where I thought everyone was running the game. If someone showed me kindness, I wondered what they wanted. If someone shared something personal, I assumed it was to bait me to test my loyalty. I didn't just question people, I questioned their reasons for even breathing in my direction. When you live like that long enough, you start gaslighting yourself. You stop trusting your gut, not because it's wrong, but because it won't shut up. It's always screaming, always doubting, always preparing for an ambush that might likely never come. It's exhausting. It's lonely. Because eventually people stop trying to get close. Not because they're hiding something, but because you look like you're hiding something. You become so busy spotting manipulation that you miss connection. You're so afraid of getting played that you never get loved. And that's the real price of street smarts that nobody talks about. They make you harder to fool, but also harder to reach, harder to trust, and harder to be around. Here's the real kicker. You don't have to be from the streets to fall into this trap. All it takes is getting burned one too many times by a parent, by a friend, by a partner, by a mentor. If you've been betrayed by someone you should have been able to trust, you start recalibrating everything. And once that switch flips, you don't go back to who you were. You just try to manage who you've become. But you can manage it. And you can redirect it. You can learn how to be street smart without being cynical. You can stay sharp without getting jaded. You can become aware without assuming the worst about everyone who steps into your life, but that takes discipline and a little bit of grace for other people and for yourself. Because remember, you've made mistakes, you've misjudged people, you've probably hurt people you didn't mean to, just like you've been hurt by people who didn't care. That doesn't mean you throw your guard down completely. It just means you stop assuming that every connection is a setup. Because the truth is this, not everyone is out to get you. Some people do actually mean well. Some people are worth the risk. And if you don't leave room for that possibility, you'll never have a real relationship. You'll never feel peace. You'll never feel fully alive. You'll just survive with a little bit of style. So let's bring this home. What are street smarts really? They're not just instincts. They're not just wisdom. They're scars, really. They're what you get after life cuts you open and you manage to stop the bleeding. They're forged in betrayal, violence, manipulation, and hard lessons. Lessons you only survive if you're lucky or you're fast. Street smarts aren't something that are taught. They're something that you have to earn the hard way. They're what you get picked up after getting scammed, after being betrayed, after being abandoned or blindsided. Then figuring out how to not let it happen again. They let you see through the BS. They keep you from falling for pretty lies. They help you navigate a world that doesn't care if you drown in it. And yeah, those skills will keep you safe and sound. But don't get it twisted. Street smarts don't make you invincible. They just make you harder to kill mentally, emotionally, financially, etc. And if you're not careful, they also make you harder to reach, harder to love, harder to live with. Because real street smarts don't just sharpen your mind, they harden your heart. They make you sharper but colder, wiser but more withdrawn, alert but always on edge. And if you don't find a way to process what gave you those street smarts in the first place, you're going to live the rest of your life in a guarded crouch, always prepared but never at peace. So let me say something to anyone watching this who's already on that path. If you've been burned, if you've lost your innocence, if you've had to get street smart to survive, don't lose yourself in the process. Yes, stay aware, stay sharp, stay dangerous. But don't let that fire that forged you burn away your ability to feel, trust, and connect. Wisdom isn't just knowing how to survive the streets. It's knowing when to lower your guard. It's knowing who deserves your trust and giving it slowly when they do. It's being tough when you have to be and soft when you choose to be. But the choices you choose. The balance. That's what keeps you human. Because here's the truth. The world is full of people who will take advantage of you. But it's also full of people who will love you, help you, and support you if you let them. So protect yourself. But don't close yourself off so tight that nothing good ever gets in. And if you've ever found yourself in a moment where your instincts failed you, where the hustle was too deep, where the betrayal comes from someone you never saw coming from and you thought, I should have seen it, I thought I was smarter than that, I thought I was untouchable, then I want you to do one thing right now. Watch this next video I'm pointing to on the screen. Because even the sharpest people get caught slipping, and even the most street smart folks get outplayed. Even I've been blindsided, and that's exactly why I made this video. It could save your pride, it could save your peace, it could even save your life. Because the game doesn't stop. The plays just get more advanced and the masks get harder to spot. And sometimes the smartest thing you can do, the real street smarts move, is to admit when you're wrong so you don't get taken out the next time. Thanks for watching, and the rest is up to you.